I'm your hostess with the mostest. My name is Imani Clark. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm from Saginaw, Michigan. I am the youth organizing lead with MEJC. Again, people will come in who haven't already done this before. Feel free to introduce yourselves, names and pronouns in the comments. Tell us where you're joining from. Tell us why you're here tonight, and welcome officially to Fight Night, Babies versus Billionaires. Before we get started, I want to tell you who we are. Again, my name is Imani, and we are the Michigan Education Justice Coalition. We're a statewide coalition of organizers focused on equitable funding for public schools and creating safe, healthy spaces for all students to thrive. MJC is a big tent coalition where member organizations building power in their communities across the state. And tonight is all about the fight back. Oh, and we also will be raffling off some t-shirts that say fund our schools and fund our future throughout this event. But you gotta be here to win, so make sure y'all are staying tuned, make sure y'all are staying present. But first, we'll find out who's in the room with us tonight. We kind of already have people putting stuff in the comments. Again, with your names, where y'all at. We want the chat to be live. Again, rep your organization. If we have students in here, rep your school. What's your district? We'll also be using the chat a lot tonight. There'll be a lot of speakers. There's going to be a lot of back and forth conversation. So again, feel free to use that chat. Feel free to talk with other people in here, but don't get too rowdy because we do got the authority to kick y'all out if if you get a little too much. Just let y'all know. Um, Thank you. So tonight we're just gonna list off what we're doing. So the theme is Fight Night. So round one, we got to give a shout out to our elders with a Black History quiz. Round two, we're gonna see who's really behind these attacks on our families and on our schools. Round three, we're gonna have our youth speak out. Round four, it's time for action. Round five, we're all in this fight together. We're going to talk about coming together and really doing something that's strong and that's worth an effort and fighting together. And last but not least is let's do this thing, y'all. Last but not least is action and let's go. So let's lock in and put our boxing gloves up. Let's put our dukes up for tonight's activities. And give a quick little shout out and quick look over about with some of these logos. We want to check all these logos out here on the screen tonight. Uh, and thank all the organizations and all the lovely people on the call for joining us. Because in this movement, it's nothing without strength in numbers. It's nothing without everybody here right now working together to fight against this. So thank y'all. And again, thank those lovely orgs that are right there on y'all screen. Shout out if y'all are one of those orgs in the chat. Let me see what we got in here. All right. Now let's talk about why we're here. So everyone knows that well-funded public schools that cater to the needs of our students are best education or are the best education option for all. Michigan should be a place where every student, no matter who they are or where they live, can get a quality education. But there are some politicians and some billionaires who have spent generations trying to dismantle our public schools by creating profit-making charter schools, giving tax breaks to businesses so they pay less in taxes, and closing public schools. These programs shift critical resources away from public schools, funneling money into private options instead. And under these new Trump administrations, ooh, I don't even gotta tell y'all, there's a lot more at stake. Uh, so they're talking about cutting off efforts to make sure that every student can learn in an inclusive classroom alongside people who are from different backgrounds, talking about closing the Department of Ed, halting the funding to preschool and early learning programs, and directly harming our students of color, our Black students, our undocumented students, and our LGBTQ plus students. So we're here tonight to rally against these attacks, give you what you need to prepare for them, tell them what these attacks look like in our state, and tell us how you get involved in how we fight back against these billionaires and taking funds from who are taking funds from our friends and our families in our school. So does that sound good to everybody? Can I get some reaction in the chat? Can I get some a thumbs up or get live with me? I don't know. It's fight night. Actually, no hearts. Give me some fists. Fist in the chat if you agree. Y'all ready for this? There we go. Come on, y'all. All right. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So before we get started, we ground everything we do in Black and Brown schools that have shown the most resilience through all these attacks. So I'm going to kick it off to Janila, who's our co chair, and Jamie, and they're going to talk about a very important Black history. Go ahead, Janila.
Okay, wait, can you hear me? Okay, good. Hi guys, I'm Janila. I am a youth co-chair along with Jamie. So glad to be talking to y'all today. Can't wait to help you with the quiz. You can go ahead, Jamie.
All right, so we're going to be talking about civil rights today. One of the things to remember about civil rights is that young people have always been at the forefront of change. And this begins with civil rights and it carries on into today's fight for justice. And we have always been in the forefront of the ones who are pushing for progress. So let's dive into a fun quiz. And this will be on the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, also known as SNCC. So if everyone can join in, and let's test what we know about youth-led movements. All right, so our first question is going to be, sorry, 1 second. All right, when was SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, founded? Was it A, in 1950, B, in 1960, C, in 1970, or D, in 1980?
We're going to give y'all a couple seconds to think it over.
Sorry, just so folks know that that's actually question number 2.
Oh.
Good eye. Got switched up. Thank you. That is what, all right. But Jamie, you can go ahead and and do question number 1 since I see people already starting.
All right, got you. And then Janila was going to take it from me with the answer.
Okay, so for question number 1, which is actually question number 2, when was SNCC, or the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, founded? The answer is the 1960s. SNCC was founded in the 1960s after a series of student-led sit-ins at segregated lunch counters, of course, and it was the youth's way of combating segregation right then and there.
Oh, you on mute, Jamie. Jamie, you on mute.
I'm so sorry. I'm having some technical difficulties over here. Oh my gosh, that is all on me.
It's the wonders of Zoom.
Right. So, all right. The next question that we have is, what was SNCC's main goal when it was first created? So, is it A, to hold peaceful protests for civil rights? Is it B, to organize sit-ins and marches to end segregation and fight for voting rights? Was it C, to organize school clubs for students? Or was it D, to fight for jobs for Black people? And I will give you guys a second just to figure out that answer.
All right. Janila, what is that answer?
Okay. I don't know if we should do a minute, 2 minutes. I'm just trying to see when's the best time. So the answer is B, to organize sit-ins and marches to end segregation and fight for voting. I feel like this is like a personal opinion. A lot of protests aren't necessarily peaceful, especially when it comes to young people doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And so like if you chose A, there's nothing wrong with that, but hey. And also SNCC focused on direct action. And direct action is really not about necessarily peace, but it's about justice. And sometimes justice and peace aren't on the same line. Yeah, we can go to our next question.
All right, y'all. So the next question we got here is, which famous leader from SNCC became a U.S. congressman? So is that going to be A, Malcolm X? Is that B, John Lewis? Is that C, Martin Luther King Jr.? Or is that D, Jesse Jackson?
John Lewis.
Oh, we got a shout out right there. I'll let Janila take it from here.
Yes, you were so right. John Lewis is the answer. He was 18 when he joined, and he later became a U.S. congressman. And they say he mainly advocated in Washington, D.C., but like him as a person, he touched people everywhere. His ideals are still focused everywhere. Like if you look at my books, you can't see it actually. I have 2 John Lewis books over there. And yeah.
All right. So our next up question that we have is, what big event did SNCC help organize in 1963 to push for civil rights? So was that the first sit-in? Was that the March on Washington? C, the Selma March? Or D, the Freedom Ride?
And for those who don't have their poll or their quiz up on Zoom, again, feel free to answer right in that chat.
All right, we've got a couple answers in the chat already. We've got someone saying Freedom March, someone saying Freedom Rides, someone saying March on Washington.
I don't think I knew this one either, actually. So I did learn something making the quiz.
It's always new history to be discovered.
Hey.
All right, and then I will let Janila take it from here.
Yes, so the answer is the March on Washington, but I think it's essential to remember that every fight that we fight is always for the future. So yes, we're fighting for something right now, but sometimes we won't see its benefits, but the generations after us will. The March on Washington happened in 1963, and it was massive, and it brought over 250,000 people from around the world to Washington. This is the second or third time MLK gave his "I Have a Dream" speech to a mass crowd. That's cool too.
Definitely. All right, and then after that, we have question 5. What kind of violence did SNCC activists face during their protests? So we have A, they just faced insults and mockery. We have B, none, no violence or repercussions, and they were just students. We got C, physical violence like police dogs and fire hoses, and we have D, forced deportation.
I'm seeing a lot of C's in the chat.
Seeing a lot of C's too, and I love that because the C's are right. So I lost it. Okay. Physical violence like police dogs and firehouses is the option. But I think it's important to realize that physical violence doesn't just really give physical violence, but it affects you in every way, shape, and form. So these students did not just face physical violence, but they faced every type of violence that you can think of, because physical violence comes with all of that. And they continue to be nonviolent protesters and keep on fighting for justice.
All right, and then we will do our final question, number 6. How did SNCC change its focus after the Civil Rights Act of 1964? We have A, they stopped organizing events altogether. We have B, they started focusing on voter registration and Black power. C, they started fighting for school uniforms. And D, they worked on ending poverty. What do we got? All right, seeing a lot of B's in the chat.
Okay, after I see like 3 people put something in the chat, I just like, okay, they got the answer.
Yeah.
So they focused on voter registration and Black power because the Civil Rights Act of 1964 focused on voter rights, voting. They also focused on registering Black voters in the South, where having access to vote was a little harder. Not a little harder, it was a lot harder. It was very much harder. And they supported the idea of Black power to emphasize their pride and resilience. If you got a 6 out of 6, you win. And if you got the answer where MLK gave his first speech, which is where I'm from, the D, Detroit, you get extra credit. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.
Cheated. All right.
so
I hope everybody had fun with that. And thank you, Janila, and thank you, Jamie. They are our wonderful youth co-chairs for our youth collective. Always a treat, always a delight. And now we're gonna wrap her off some t-shirts. So we're gonna have 2 people in here win a prize, win a t-shirt. So if we could get ready to spin the wheel, let's go around and see who's our winner. That's a big wheel. I should have said drum roll. Next time, y'all gotta remind me. Okay, we got a winner. Let's see who our second winner is tonight. Drum roll this time. Okay. Congratulations to our 2 lovely winners. Thank you for participating. Thank you for being here tonight. You are t-shirt winners, and we will be reaching out to you in the chat on Zoom right now. So keep an eye out for that. But I want to ask the group a question. I want to ask something to the squad. How many people got all 6 out of 6 questions correct? How many got everything right? Like y'all is, SNCC is on the mind. Okay. Okay. Y'all know I got the results. I can check. Just saying. Mm. Okay. Well, next we're gonna head into round 2. Who is really behind these attacks on our friends, on our families, and in these schools? Sometimes, with all the chaos in our lives, we aren't always looking at the bigger picture, the destruction or the destructive impact of billionaires and powerful people trying to make sure they just keep getting richer, no matter who it harms in the process. But here to tell us about what's happening nationally is Moira. Moira, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Hello, Michigan. My name is Maura Kalida, and I'm with the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools. And tonight, I'm fighting to protect the right to free and appropriate education for all students. I am the national director for AROS, but I am a mama first of 2 children that have IEPs, and so I always want to say that up front. I'm fighting for them, and I'm fighting for every student like them. AROS is a national coalition of labor and grassroots community groups fighting for education justice. And this event tonight is actually part of a national day of action. In California, where there are communities, there's 11 local unions that have organized their contracts together on a campaign called We Can't Wait, focused on Black student achievement and other issues. Members of 482 Forward from Detroit, hey Molly, I saw you on here, joined AROS members today in DC to hold a smackdown on Capitol Hill. We're letting folks know that we're here to fight. All of our youth and families across the country are impacted by the recent attacks from the Trump administration. There's threats of downsizing or eliminating the Department of Education. It's another example of billionaires trying to harm our families. It's especially important right now as students have lost over $600 billion as states have disinvested in schools since the Great Recession. The Department of Education also enforces non-discrimination laws that protect LGBTQ students, our disabled students, our undocumented students, our students of color, and so many more. Funding to ensure the standards that we have established across the nation, such as access to education in low-income communities or protecting students against gender-based discrimination, are just a few examples of what could be impacted by the weakening of the Department of Education. Even worse is that what we are seeing nationally is an effort to elevate billionaires, which is the most obvious with the nomination of Linda McMahon as our education secretary. Linda is a billionaire whose wealth, I'm sure you know, comes from running the WWE. Who would have thought that we would have a wrestling dynasty running our schools? Linda has the same goals as Betsy DeVos. I know y'all in Michigan remember her. Throw up some nasty emojis. Tell me how you feel. And that is to move public funds from our public schools and shift them over to private schools and corporations instead. We see billionaires like Jeff Yass from PA, where I'm from, spending $10 million in Texas to unseat Republican state legislators who wouldn't support the governor's voucher bill. And we've all heard of Project 2025, which calls for ending Head Start, phasing out Title I over 10 years, and converting special education funds into voucher savings accounts. This is why we need a strong education justice movement across the US to make sure our families and communities don't get beat down by these heartless billionaires. My organization, Eros, is ready for this fight. Who's with me? Show me those fists in the chat. Show them in your little Zoom box. Awesome. And up next, I'm gonna introduce Dr. Pugh, who is a leader for students in Michigan.
Thank you so much for that introduction. As mentioned, I am Pamela Pugh, and I am the president of the State Board of Education here in Michigan, and I am so honored to have that role. And whenever I get a chance to stand with MEJC 482 Forward and each of every one of you on this call, I am going to stand. I am standing with you in this fight for our schools, for our children, for our future. And in Michigan, the elimination of the U.S. Department of Education would be devastating. Our communities stand to lose approximately $440 million just in Title I funding, leaving schools scrambling to cover the shortfall. And we all know that low-income communities will suffer the most. And as they don't have local tax base that wealthier districts rely on, this will worsen inequalities in both urban and rural schools that depend on federal support. And I call these the unintended consequences. And they go farther. If the Department of Education disappears, our most vulnerable students will be left unprotected. Students with disabilities, students in poverty, students in underfunded schools already. Right now, the federal government covers over 10% of special education costs in Michigan, and even that is not enough. If those funds are slashed further, the impact will be catastrophic for students, for teachers, for families. But we won't be silent. While an extreme right-wing agenda seeks to dismantle public education, we won't let marginalized communities be scapegoated, and we won't let hate divide us. As president of Michigan State Board of Education, I will not back down. I never have, and we won't start now. And as a Democrat, I will tell you that it is time out for performative representation, regardless of what party a person is or our representatives and elected officials are, regardless of their party. We will hold
I'm
all
listening to a seminar.
officials
Listening.
accountable and
Yes,
demand that
I
our
heard you say
legislators stand
something.
up for
What?
all children, ensuring our
Oh my
schools.
gosh.
So that
I'm
means we can
sorry,
get to
if
the end of
we
the
could
night.
just
We're going to
remind the
bed, but I got to go to
audience
work.
to please, if we could just remind our
I'm
audience to
sorry.
please keep it on mute. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, and good to have you all on board. But we're going to ensure our schools receive the funding that they need to provide a quality education. And this fight isn't mine alone. It is our fight. And I tell people just real quickly, start with your local elected official. Go to your school boards, go to your city council, go to your commissioners. Start there and demand. Don't start with demanding. You can start with thanking them for standing up for our freedoms. Tell them not to buckle under the pressure and not to bow down to the dangerous political agendas. And the last thing that I will say is the Calvary is not coming because the Calvary is already here. We are the Calvary. We are all that we have, us working together, fighting together, and it is enough. If we stand strong, stand firm, we can fight back. Thank you all for having me and keep the fight.
Hey, everybody. I am Trina, and so I'm just waiting for the screen share. Thank you, Molly. Feel free, Molly. Oh, you got it on Michigan already. Awesome. So I'm Trina. I'm the co-director of Michigan Education Justice Coalition, and I'm here today because I'm fighting for my two amazing children. And we wanted to make sure that you all saw a really incredibly useful resource that just came out yesterday, because we know it's on a lot of our minds, right? What is happening at the federal level and how is that impacting our kids? So we just wanted to lay some facts on you. So we know that Michigan receives somewhere between 10 and 15% of our funds for schools from the federal government. Some schools are higher, some schools are lower. So, but as a total, our state receives between 10 and 15% of the overall amount of money spent on education by the federal government. So it does make a difference if the federal government does begin to cut back on funds related to education. And so this tool shows what the impact could be if different things were cut. So for example, if the Trump administration were to cut 50% of the funds that go to special education in Michigan, that would mean that nearly 6,000 entry-level teacher positions would be lost. So just want to let that sink in, right? That each of these, you know, they may not seem like large cuts, but each of them add up to, you know, huge issues that will compound some of the challenges our schools are already facing. So now, somebody who knows it far better than I want to pass it off to Steve to share his perspective on things.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Steve Kahn, and I'm a union president of the Wayne Westland Education Association, which is a large suburban Title I school district just outside of Detroit. And we're also one of the only racially diverse public schools districts in the state. I also represent Wayne County on the Michigan Education Association, the board of directors, and I'm a delegate to the National Education Association. I'm here tonight because I'm trying to fight for improved funding for our public schools. My district is one that sees many families that aren't getting what they need. And speaking as a teacher leader, I'm here to talk about the local effect of the disastrous national policies. First off, what's bad for my students is bad for me and other teachers. I want everyone in here to remember this. Teachers' working conditions are our students' learning conditions. Secondly, any student any student that walks into our classrooms, regardless of their race or their gender or their sexual orientation or their religion or their immigration status, needs to feel safe, full stop. And I know that this has been in the news. I just want to let you know today I found out in Livonia, of all places, 5 students were detained by ICE on their way home from school today. 5. So this is serious. Third, as someone with experience teaching in a minority and Title I district and growing up in the community, I know firsthand that the harm that comes from disinvestment. Buildings are crumbling, students are not at grade level of reading, and communities who not only haven't been equipped by the lack of funding in public schools, but they've actually been harmed by it. For example, the siphon of the millions of dollars from public schools, the for-profit charter schools, have impacted the ability of our local school district to create an accurate long-term financial budget. As a union leader who bargains contracts, it's difficult to collectively bargain a contract when random for-profit charter schools are randomly popping up, not taking special needs kids, not taking those kids, taking millions of dollars away from our public schools, and then they close as soon as the billionaires get paid. The vast majority of our students who come to us from these for-profit schools, they're behind academically. That not only affects them and their families, it affects the teachers in the local school district. Finally, I really believe that we need to be paying our teachers a wage that keeps them in this profession. We all know why we became teachers. It clearly wasn't to get rich. We committed to a middle-class lifestyle. We want them to do good in their jobs. Teachers and school staff obviously play an important role in the development of our kids, our community, our babies. And they need to have working conditions that match the importance of the job that they do. I want to say that this is why I am so grateful to Drew and Trina, the entire MEJC staff, for recently helping me build a community coalition in Wayne Westland that included our political leaders and local labor organizations such as the UAW. My local union bargaining team and I decided to rally around one word: unity. It's what I'm wearing right now. We made about 1,000 of these shirts and sweatshirts. This is why I'm wearing it. It's time that we rally around our public schools. We present a united front, that we are united, regardless of your zip code, where you happen to live, regardless of what race you happen to be or your economic background. Remember, the greatest fear of the billionaires is that if we, the working class, have unity. I want to encourage all of you to stay united in our commitment to fight for improved funding for our public schools. Thank you.
Love that shirt, Steve.
Steve, thank you so much. You got a lot of love in the chat, and we're all excited that Wayne Westland has an organizing group. I'm Molly Sweeney. I am the director of organizing for 482 Forward in Detroit. I'm also a mom, and for those who know me, I'm continuously fighting to make sure schools across the state of Michigan are fully funded and that corporations and the wealthy pay their fair share to make sure we have the resources to support teacher working conditions and student learning conditions. And I'm here today to talk about one of our fellow school districts across the state that was deeply impacted by corporate handouts and corporate greed this last year, Bridgman Public Schools. So a little bit about Bridgman. It's on the west side of the state. It's one of the top performing districts in Michigan, but because of corporate greed, that might not be the case very long. This year, Bridgman Public Schools will have to cut between 12 and 18% of their teachers and programs. Because in September, Indiana-Michigan Power Company decided to use a law in Michigan that we have to get rid of called dark stores. And this law let Indiana-Michigan Power Company be taxed much smaller than they actually are, robbing Bridgman's public schools of the property taxes they desperately need to fund their programs. now that law is legal and it happens across the state. So Bridgman, as a result, now has to cut their budget. This last legislative season, Bridgman went to the legislature to ask for a supplemental to make sure they didn't have to cut that much money and that many teachers from their programs. But while the legislature was handing big tax breaks and corporate handouts to corporations, they did not do a supplemental for Bridgman schools. So Bridgman right now is still having to cut 12 to 18% of their budget. So the same is happening to school districts across the state and school districts across the country. And I can say as a Detroiter, and I know you all can say as folks across the state, that it's time that we as Michiganders really fight for the resources we deserve and hold big corporations and billionaires, millionaires, wealthy folks in our state accountable to our families and school districts from Detroit to the West Side, because nobody, none of our students are going to succeed if we don't actually hold them accountable. And I'm going to turn it over. We're also going to keep you updated on Bridgman, just so folks know, because Bridgman Public Schools does and will need people across the state to stand with them to make sure they get in the supplemental this year, so they do not have to cut as many student resources and teachers as possible.
Thank you, Molly. And thank you to our other speakers. Also want to do a special shout out to Dr. Pugh, who is from Saginaw, graduated from the high, and is a Sorrow sister, AKA, come on now. But just to get a little more serious, I really want us to sit into into some of these numbers, because did y'all hear that? 12% is cut from the school budget, or a 12% cut to a school budget. Like, can you imagine 12% got cut from your family expenses? And this is at the hands of a nuclear power plant. So now more than ever, we need more funding, not less, and our students deserve better. So as we continue, as we go, let me make sure everybody's still hyped. Let me make sure everybody still got their energy up. Let's get some hearts. Let's get some fists in the chat. Where y'all at? Let's show some love. There we go. Put your gloves up. All right. Because I want to introduce our next speaker and introduce our next round, which is round 3. So we're going to hear from a student from Ipsy named Kanaya Robertson, and it's going to be her version of what schools could be. So we're going to have Kanaya take it away.
Okay, hi. Okay. Is working? Okay. Hi, my name is Kanaya. I am 15 years old and I go to ACE in Ypsilanti. I'm here to talk about the issues students like me face every day. I am fighting for my school. At our school, we only have one bathroom from all students, which is crazy. We also have problems with keeping the school clean, and sometimes we don't even have basic supplies like pencils, books. It's hard to focus when we don't have what we need, and the food sometimes uncooked. We fighting for what we deserve: more teachers, more supplies, and a safe and clean school. We're not asking for much. We need the support, not just for us, but for all students in Michigan. We shouldn't be fighting for basic things like clean schools and enough food. These are things every student should have. Thanks for listening. Together, we can also make a change.
Thank you, Kanaya. And I want to again thank our youth for coming on tonight. Again, this is really about y'all. This baby versus billionaires. We say babies in a very loose term. What we mean is y'all, the students, the people who are directly affected by these policies and these changes and these attacks. So again, thank you, Kanaya. And again, I really hope that y'all listen to some of the words she was saying, some of the needs and the resources that her school and students like her are dealing with. So how can we make this vision for Michigan students or for Michigan schools possible? We're going to learn with Aisha Brown with round 4 in taking action.
I always try to follow the script, and then I get lost in the sauce because everybody was saying so many things that I am passionate about. They told me I have a time limit, so y'all cut me off and give me the hand when because I'll keep talking. Everybody touched on a lot of things. Okay, let me start from the beginning. My name is Aisha. I'm a parent from Detroit with 482 Ford Special Ed Education Committee. I am a DPSCD employee. I'm a parent outreach coordinator. Of course, I am a parent first. And so many I'm sorry. And I am fighting for all changes in education. And I know it sounds broad, but when I say I'm fighting for everything, I am fighting for changes as far as better resources to support our families, both parents and students, smaller class sizes, mental health resources, social emotional support and skills, easier access to special educational tools and resources. I have a son that has a learning disability in reading, so he's considered special education. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting lost. I have my notes, and I have so much to say. I'm trying to condense it all. I'm so sorry. I work for, like I said, a school in DPSCD, and I notice a lot of failures in our students. We need to change our curriculums. We have overworked and overwhelmed teachers, but they're underpaid. A lot of our teachers have stopped showing up. We have a shortage in our teachers. I'm sorry.
Take your time. Yeah.
Right, take your
Look,
time.
I got so many notes everywhere. I'm sorry. I have so many notes everywhere. Then I started taking notes as you guys were talking. I had a script, but I think I should go off script because there's so
Please
many
keep
things I
from
want
the
to talk
heart.
about.
Go ahead.
My son's school doesn't have available resources for special education students. My school does have the resources for special education students, but our parents don't know what's available. I talked to both the special education teachers in elementary and middle school. The curriculum that they have for our children is unrealistic in both general education and special education. They're they're below reading level. A lot of them have family issues that's pouring over into the schools with no support. Most of our parents don't know what resources are available to help make things better for them. I want to change so many things in education. I don't even think I have enough time to tell you guys everything. I went to Washington, D.C. with the National Parents Union. I hosted pop-up events for our state representatives. We are asking for so many things. Special education is the focus because that is the committee in which I serve with. But I just found out that a lot of our special education students are not given the opportunity to place out of special education and qualify for a high school diploma. It's unrealistic to think these children would thrive without the necessary tools. Our parents of the special education students don't even know about all of the things that's available to them or should be available to them. We are asking for, I actually talked to both special education teachers, and we're open to having a parent orientation so that they are aware of all things that's available to them, so they are realistic about the opportunities that the students have.
No, actually, I think that's a great segue to our next point about those conversations and starting to like gather those people, because we need to make a change. And tonight we're gonna make our first steps together, because our power comes from us being us coordinated actions and speaking with one voice. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
When they go low, we go local.
period.
Our work starts with advocating for our kids in our own district. That's why we're asking everyone to come together with folks in their county to host a community conversation about education in March or April. These community conversations will include bringing together your neighbors, listening to the issues in your communities, and making a commitment to work toward education justice in your school districts. We want to see education community conversations across Michigan. The question is, will you help us with those plans? Oh, will you help us plan those? I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you so much. So to get this started or so we can start doing this, what we're gonna do is do some breakout rooms. They're gonna go by county. So go to the breakouts on your Zoom, and then you can click the county or the area that you live in or that you want to go into. If you don't see your county, you can stay just in this main room. And if you're on your phone tonight, no worries. The breakout room is at the top left corner by the volume button. If you're on your computer, you just click on more, and it's the bottom left button, and you just find the tab and on breakouts, whatever room you want to go to. So just click on those breakout rooms, go to your counties, and share your initial thoughts on these actions and what we've talked about today. And then we'll bring us back in about 10 minutes, just so we can wrap up. So again, go ahead and go to those breakout rooms according to your county, according to your area or your location. And if anybody has questions about how to get to those to those breakout rooms, just stay here in the main. All right, I'm seeing people go to their breakouts. Awesome. On the phone, the breakout rooms are on the top left corner by the volume button. Now, I don't know if that's an iPhone versus like a Samsung or Android thing, but those are my instructions. All right, I'm seeing people continue to go to those breakout rooms. Yep. Get it. Go ahead and go in there. Again, this is our call to action. We're asking you to help us plan. How do we get in these conversations? Who do we bring to the table, etc.
Wayne County's there. It's at the bottom.
And I see we do have some people still here, but I also will go out to some breakout rooms, and I will see y'all later as we wrap up our evening.
You did do Oakland County, right?
Yep, Oakland on here.
Anybody else not sure where they need to go?
Put the Oakland forward, Oakland.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope we had some really good conversations in those breakout rooms. As people are filtering in, I do want to remind everyone that if the name on your screen is not your true name, please do put that in there, just so we don't see any, iPhone blah blah blahs or Samsungs, whatever. We would love to see your beautiful names. I'm so sorry, just work with me. All right. So just want to say once again, welcome back to everybody. And I heard some really creative ideas when I was just kind of visiting some of the breakout rooms, um, and hearing kind of what y'all were thinking about when it came to your own schools or your communities. And so we're going to take a look at your notes, and we'll also be sure to do a follow-up. So now that we're moving on and it's time that we go and talk about what we need to do, or we'll talk about where we need you to make a commitment to join the fight back. So again, we have these conversations. We're going to run into some action about what we need you to do. So we need to be talking with our families and our communities. We know you already are doing those things. And also in the chat, we are going to put a link where you can sign up for hosting a listening session in other ways, or get involved in your own capacity over the next couple of months. And then we'll make sure everybody sees that in the chat. Again, that link, so y'all can come help us along. And then we'll go on to round 5 with Emma and Cindy. So each of them have had their communities directly targeted by the Trump administration, and we want to hear some words from them right now.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Imani. This is Emmy Zanatti. My pronouns are she, her. I am the Director of Advocacy and Civic Engagement at Equality Michigan, fighting for the LGBTQ community, but very specifically want to call into space tonight that I'm fighting for the trans community in the state of Michigan and across the country right now, and especially trans and gender nonconforming young people. And so this administration has gone beyond trying to intimidate us. They've issued what we think are illegal executive orders targeting trans people's access to healthcare, trans people's access to facilities in schools, trans people's access to participation in sports and recreational activities. They've, in fact, even tried to just flat out erase trans folks, right? If you go to the Department of State's website right now, you will see warnings for LGB travelers that used to say LGBT travelers, right? They have scrubbed the CDC research papers on the federal government's website of every reference to trans folks and gender identity that you can find. Unfortunately, they cannot erase folks with wordsmithing, as evidenced by me being on this call tonight. I know there's other trans and gender nonconforming folks on this call tonight. And so, the first thing I want to say is the trans community is, simply put, being used as a tool to divide us, right? Flat out. If y'all are believing the BS they're putting out there about these poor kids and their families, or other trans folks, or the trans people who are being potentially discharged from the United States military after years of service, losing access to their income, to their benefits. If you believe that, like, I promise you, you are being a willing subject to our own oppression, right? And our own shortcomings as a society, right? So I would encourage you, if the first conversation you have to have about trans folks is a conversation with the mirror, then do it. Because I promise you this fascism's holding us back. And I encourage folks to lean in, right? And so Equality Michigan's a statewide LGBTQ advocacy org. We service queer folks all across the state of Michigan. Yes, we focus a lot on the LGB community, but simply put, trans folks are underwater right now, and that's what we're fighting, to mitigate the damage, mitigate the harm. We've seen some health centers across the state take gender affirming care down for youth in the last 48 hours. And we're working like crazy to try to get that access restored, because I don't know how you expect a kid to learn when they can't get access to healthcare, and food and water and all the things our kids need to thrive. And so depriving these young people and their families of this is straight up warfare. And so if we got to go to war, we'll go to war. And that's kind of where we're at right now. They've backed us into a corner, and we're ready to brawl. So Fight Night's the right theme. And I want to remind folks on this call, right, that we did something pretty significant in Michigan, which was we added sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression to our state Civil Rights Act in 2023. That went into effect in 2024. And that means as it relates to employment, housing, public accommodations, public utilities, healthcare, and academic institutions, aka schools, you cannot discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. And we believe that applies to your ability to participate in athletics and other recreational activities. We believe that applies to your ability to use the restroom of the gender you identify as, which keeps all students safe in schools. And so flat out, we'll fight to enforce those laws and uphold them. And we will organize and resist, hostile school boards, hostile administrations who oppose that, and we'll always fight on behalf of these kids and their families. So, flat out, we're under attack, and we want you to fight with us. And so if you're LGBTQ or an ally, or you have family and you need to figure out what's actually going on with all this nonsense right now, because it's scary for folks, right? We are having a call tomorrow night at 6:30, Equality Michigan and the ACLU of Michigan, where we'll be breaking down what we know and don't know about these executive orders, but also, most importantly, pitching our statewide organizing strategy, which simply put is not focused on a singular policy or a singular messaging narrative. It is building a community that is literally so strong and so tied together and so unified that we cannot be broken, right? And that is the strategy for 2025 and 2026 for this community, and we hope you can join us.
That's my friend, y'all. That's my friend.
I was gonna say, I'm so glad I got to go before Cindy, because it would have been a lot of pressure going after.
No. How am I gonna follow that, guys? That's my friend.
You
I
ate.
have a question. Where's this meeting gonna be at tomorrow?
Tomorrow's meeting is a Zoom meeting, and I can I can put a link in the chat too to sign up if you're interested. Yep.
Thank you, Emmy. Thank you, Emmy, so much for that. Hi, everyone. Cindy Gamboa from Mi Poder. And man, Emmy just brought the fire. That's what we do. We stand up, we fight back when our communities are under attack. I am the mother of 3, and I'm here fighting. I fight day in and day out for my babies. And right now I am fighting for the well-being of my immigrant communities, because we too are under attack. We know that we're facing an administration that has tried to intimidate us, but let us be very, very clear. We will continue to fight for our babies and for our communities over any billionaire that tries to attack us. The wealthy and the powerful always try to exploit our differences. They try to divide us, and they try to pit our communities against each other. It's the same old tired anti-immigrant, anti-other, like othering racist narrative that we heard time and time before, but we're not backing down, not now and not ever. So I know we're all looking at the news, guys. We're seeing what this administration is doing. Just in the first few weeks while President Trump has been in office, he's issued more than a dozen executive actions that were designed to advance his cruel mass deportation agenda. Now, these actions were crafted to sow fear and create chaos and disrupt the very fabric of our communities. They were designed to increase suffering and injustice for immigrant communities like my own. Now, one of the most alarming changes was the removal of the sensitive locations protection that under previous policies, places like churches, hospitals, schools that were considered off limits to ICE, that protection was gone overnight. Now ICE can enter into those sacred spaces, including our schools, where I trust that my baby is safe. And that's just what they can come in with the intent to raid, detain, and cause more harm to our children and to our community. Now, this is an unprecedented event, threat to the safety and the security to our students, to our educators, to our families, to our communities. But what is there to do? What does this mean for students and teachers? We know it's terrifying. I'm seeing the comments, and our babies are terrified. They carry this every day. How are kids supposed to learn in school knowing that this is a possibility, that they're not safe in the very institution that they go in and day out? How are they safe knowing that, you know, they can come home? They don't know if they're going to come home to their parent after the day is end, their school day is ended. We need to remind ourselves that everyone has rights regardless of status, of documentation status. All students, regardless of immigration status, have the right to public education, and no one can tell us otherwise. Their laws exist still to protect the confidentiality of students' private information. Schools and districts are not allowed to ask immigration status of students and their parents. And we know a lot of these amazing kick-ass educators, that a lot of them in this room right now, you have rights too. And we need you now more than ever to stand with us and stand with your students and stand with our communities and fight against this fear that's being created. Find out what your school policies and procedures are if ICE tries to come into our buildings. Demand that you get trained as to what to do and how to have these difficult conversations with your students and with these families. And check out the resources that are already floating out there. We're going to drop a whole bunch of resources, links in the chat for you guys to check out. NEA has in-depth information for folks, for you guys to check out. And please speak out when you see injustices happening, because raids is just the tip of the iceberg. In this critical moment, we need to remain resource-oriented. We hold our loved ones and our community members extra close. Everyone who lives in the U.S. has legal rights regardless of their immigration status. And knowing your rights and standing together is our strongest defense that we have. We want you to stay connected with each other and with Mi Poder as we continue to lay the groundwork and protect our communities. Thank you so much for the solidarity and support, and I can't wait to continue to fight because we're ready for this.
Yes, y'all. Thank y'all for sharing. And again, I already seen it in the chat, but let's get some hearts, let's get some fists in the chat. Those are both very powerful stories. And again, I'm really hoping that y'all are listening this evening and really taking in not just what we're saying, but also those resources. They're right there in the chat. But we're gonna move on, and let's go to our round 6 with Kermit Williams, who will land the knockout punch and close us out. So please take it away.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I am Kermit Williams. I'm super excited to be here. Let's give it up for our host, Imani, who's been doing this all day today. I'm fired up. You've been hearing about what's going on. I'm from Oakland Forward, live from the center of the universe, Pontiac, Michigan, and I'm fighting for Black and brown kids all over the country. Everybody's been hearing about the horrible atrocities and threats to our schools, to our kids, and to our community, and asking one question: what can I do? What can I do? Well, I'm about to tell you, because it's time for the knockout blow, and we're going to fight back because we have to be involved as a community. MEJC, the Michigan Education Justice Coalition, has coordinated our efforts that you can plug in right away to fight for our kids. We will give you the tools that you need to organize. Somebody say organize. People in your community to develop strength in numbers. And I don't know who's echoing right now, but you can mute your mic because we're going to talk to everybody about what we got to do. We will help you put together community conversations. Y'all talked in y'all breakout room for about 10 minutes on what's happening, but we're going to continue that discussion, and we're going to have a training at the end of February. And we're not going to stop there. MEJC Coalition is going to be working statewide to ensure healthy and healing community schools all over Michigan.
You take a nap?
Yes, we took a nap, but we're not going to take a nap on our education. Mark your calendars, April 29th for MEJC Lobby Day. What's a lobby day? We are planning an entire day to advocate at the Capitol for budget priorities. Remember that budgets are a reflection of what you believe in, and we believe in our kids. So then we're going to do that on April 29th. Mark your calendars. We're going to be working on policy that protects our kids and our schools. So mark it down now. Don't lose it. And we'll see you to set a record. Last year, we had almost 200 people hit Lansing. We're trying to get at least 500 folks this year. Then we're moving on in May and June. We want everybody to attend their local school board budget hearings. Where we spend the money reflects our values, and we know it. We are prepping people to speak up in their schools. Raise your hand right now if you're willing to speak at a school board meeting, speak to your board, speak to your community about equitable education for everybody. I just want to say this. Your zip code should not determine your life expectancy. Where you live should not affect our kids, and we deserve money in order to do that. Finally, we've been saying it all night. Our schools need that money. The rich are keeping it all to themselves instead of better schools for our babies. And that's why we are exploring the change in Michigan's constitution with a ballot initiative, because we don't trust the politicians, for progressive income tax on wealthy Michiganders. What does that mean? We're going to gather signatures in 2025 to get this on the ballot in 2026. We're not going to trust the legislator. We're not going to trust corporate interests. We're going to trust the people to get these ballots together. And we need you to be one of the 1,000 people that are going to be justice captains in order to fight for this. We need you to help us. How many people are going to help? Get it in the chat and say, I'm willing to help right now to fill out the Education Justice Pledge so we can get you plugged in and ready in your community for evaluation. These forms are going to lead us to community leaders that's going to help us not only get this ballot initiative on the ballot, but get it through and pass so we'll have babies over billionaires. We also want you to have community events in your community. It is time for us to stand together and stand up. For too long, we've been feeding the billionaires and not feeding our babies. We're having a debate right now over school lunch, making sure that all kids eat, and just basic decency. Billionaires don't care about us, but we care about our community, we care about our kids, and we care about our future. So we need you to join MEJC for what we need to do going next. Thank you for being here. Sign up today, take the pledge, get plugged in, and tell a friend. We'll be calling on you all year round to save our community. Let's give it up again one more time for MEJC, and we're stronger together. We're going to get this done.
You have any contact information I can jot down and share?
Yep, they're going to put all that information in the chat. It's going to be phenomenal. Everybody that's on this listserv will be getting contacted because we got to plug you in today and tomorrow. This is going to be a long fight, but we're going to win in the end.
Okay. My church is in Pontiac. I'm going to definitely pass this on.
Yeah, and we encourage everybody to do that. Like how, like we said today, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your church and your clergy members, talk to, start organizing within. That's how this all starts. That's how we all build, and that's how we all gather power and get stronger and get into and get these numbers up. Because we fighting for the babies, and I don't got no kids, so we fighting for the babies. We fighting for our students. We're fighting for Michigan. So again, go to those links. Make sure y'all put y'all information. You'll make sure everyone is kind of staying up on what we're doing here at MEJC and what your local organizations are doing. Hold local politicians and elected officials accountable. Go to your school board. Go to your school budget meetings. And also, once again, thank you to everybody who spoke today. Thank you for everyone who came out. Again, we do have our chat lighting up with so many resources that y'all can connect with tonight, and people who y'all can connect with tonight as well. Again, all this information will be in the chat and sent out via email. So no worries on contact or slides or resources. And I want to give y'all a round of applause tonight too, or a round of applause tonight as well, because we stay active, we stayed engaged, we stayed hype. Could have had some more energy, but you know, it's fine, it's on Zoom. But I want y'all to leave here energized. I want y'all to leave here ready to fight for our babies, fight. Well, I want y'all to leave here. Let's text Rich, y'all. Let's leave. Let's get out of here. Tomorrow, everybody needs to sign up for this. I'm checking. But thank y'all. Bye. I'm seeing y'all. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
My name on the list. I'm gonna listen to Beyonce.
Bye. Thank
Go home,
you
listen
so
to
much.
Beyonce. Stream it. Cowboy Carter.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.